Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This time around we are going to be discussing remote learning tips for the fall of 2020. So, especially if you are starting out your first semester as a remote student, I think that this is very vital information. But also if you're just continuing along with your regular college career, I would definitely think that this is also a good video to watch just so you can potentially gain a few insights and tips as to what you can do to make sure your fall is still as great as it can be in terms of staying on top of your academics and pretty much every other aspect of the college lifestyle. That being said, I am going to focus this as if you are a college freshman, so for some of the people who are a couple years down the line in their college journey, some of the information here might be a little obvious to you, but I do think that it's still valuable to reiterate for those of us who are just starting out this journey. One thing to make note of is that college and high school are not the same. College is pretty much high school times a million, right? Even if you went to a fairly rigorous high school, there's a lot of difference and a lot of transition that takes place within that first month of time that you've started out your classes in. With that out of the way, let's talk about time management. This is a skill that most people, I feel like, coming into college think that they have down pat and probably actually don't at all. The amount of coursework, the amount of rigor is a lot more than what people typically see in high school. I would say even people who have taken AP courses or college courses, it's not really the same thing when you're taking them in a high school environment when compared to actually being in a college. So that being said, time management is super vital to making sure you stay on top of everything that's going on. This can be things like events that you want to take part of, spending time with friends so you don't get completely overwhelmed, and just staying on top of your academic and professional lives and making sure you're developing skills in those areas. The first thing that I would say is to track all of the tasks that you have to do in a given week or even throughout the semester if you are lucky enough to have a full syllabus with a good chunk of the schedule already listed there, right? You want to know all of your deadlines, whether it be different projects, different assignments, different exams, things like that are very vital to have at the start of the semester because they can help you understand what your semester is going to be like as a whole moving forward. The next thing would be your professional tasks, which would be a bunch of professional development-esque areas, including resume building, including developing your LinkedIn or cover letter designs, going to workshops in those areas that your university might be holding. That's very vital to start to do at the earliest possible stages because that information is going to last you and continue to build upon what you already know for the rest of your life. To me, my recommendation would be to try and have a very clear laid out resume, at least by the end of your first semester, and on top of that, try to start picking out some jobs that you might be wanting to apply to gain experience in your field of interest. A lot of people now, especially in college, are starting to do and gain internship experience, so falling behind on that is probably not the best idea. The last area for tasks would be personal tasks. So this means keeping up on your hobbies, keeping up with friends, keeping up with family, and really making sure your network stays intact in terms of the people that are close to you, as well as the things that you just spend in like a lot of time on that you really enjoy, that kind of make your life a lot more fun and livable, I guess you could say. I highly recommend trying to spread these things out during the week so that you have pockets of time that you're just focused on your work, but then also little pieces here and there throughout the week that you're also just having fun and you're not always in a full-on work mode. The other thing that comes up with regard to time management is actual events. Now, this also relates to academics, professional stuff, and your personal life. And specifically, it could be having all of your classes laid out on some type of calendar, having so that you know all the times and the locations, knowing exactly when you're meeting with people so that you are on time and can spend as much time having fun with your friends at the end of a long week, or going to specific workshops and job fairs and things like that over the semester, whether it be in person or online, right? That's very, very vital to having a successful first semester. My personal recommendation would be to use a bullet journal and a Google Calendar, though some people might prefer using something like Google Keep to keep notes of different task lists and things like that. I personally prefer to use bullet journaling techniques. And yeah, so that's just what works for me. But I think for anyone, specifically different events that you have going on should be going on your calendar. That way you can always refer back to it and you always have that specific set of events listed on your phone or your laptop, wherever you are. The next thing that I think we should talk about is creating relationships remotely. I feel like this can be probably one of the biggest challenges, regardless of if you're going into your first semester of college or really trying to go anywhere new in your career, in your life, and you're surrounded by new people. Now, this is much more difficult when you're doing everything remotely because you might not necessarily be seeing people face to face. So for that reason, I would highly recommend trying to see if there are any group chats that exist for your class, for whatever school you're attending. I've noticed for my school that we have stuff on Facebook, but beyond that, you can also try and find things relating to common interests through clubs, as well as even your major, and trying to meet people through different events for your major like that too. I would highly recommend spending as much time as you can trying to go to different events, even if they are just virtual things, and hopefully you'll be able to meet a couple of people through those types of things. Similarly, you could also try and do this same type of thing through events relating to professional development, things like that. We have a career center that helps us and hosts a bunch of events relating to that type of thing. So if your university does something like that, especially with this remote environment, it might be a good way to still not just meet professionals, but also meet other people in your own university. The next thing that I think is super vital is creating study groups of people that are also either back home in the same boat as you doing remote classes, or by people in your university that are also doing things remotely. The reason for this is that you can kind of create this community of people coming together and just doing work together, and you can do some other stuff beyond that after you do your work and things like that. But I definitely think that this is a great way, especially in a remote environment, to still hold yourself accountable and keep yourself on track in terms of your academics. It's also a great excuse to have to just see people that you might not necessarily see otherwise, either online or in person, depending on your situation. And that way you guys can just see each other, talk to one another, catch up, while also doing work. Now, some people might think that this is counterproductive to be around other people while doing work. That really depends on you yourself, but what I've noticed is a lot of people who are doing work for lengthy hours of time are actually spending a good majority of that time not really doing work. They're usually procrastinating, doing other things. That's not everyone. Some people are actually able to develop those skills very early on and do things that they need to in given slots of time. But a lot of people, especially when you're first starting out college, don't have that skill developed. So having other people holding one another accountable for that is a great idea to me. Record lectures. Why? The reason I would say to record lectures is, especially now in this remote environment, it's much easier to zone out or get distracted while you are supposed to be paying attention to class. There's no real accountability as of now, I would say, outside of yourself to get your work done. So if you find yourself zoning out or getting distracted very easily in your lecture times, highly recommend that you record your lectures so that you can always refer back to them. On top of that, you just have to be on top of your work in general, right? You need to read the textbooks, you need to review material beforehand so that you're actually prepped for your classes so that you're not completely lost. Because especially if you're lost now, it's much easier to just sit back and turn on the mute button and just do whatever the hell else you want to do. So right now, those two things highly recommend so that you can stay on track. The final tip would be to use tutoring as well as any other online learning tools to make sure that you are as prepared as possible for your courses, right? So this could be things like Khan Academy or really any other learning tool. A lot of YouTube videos are also great for this, to just learn about different concepts and things like that. So using those materials on top of your regular coursework to kind of supplement your learning, very highly recommend, because it's a great way to either get a different perspective and just like try and learn and answer questions on your own as well. With tutoring, the reason that I highly recommend this is a lot of students don't realize just how much it can help you. Usually your university will have some type of tutoring service that's just part of your tuition, so you've already paid for it, so you might as well take advantage of the resources that come along with it. I definitely recommend this because it helps you stay on track. You can go in with questions and it just helps you answer any questions that you have when you're not really necessarily sure about what to ask in a course, in a specific classroom setting, and you want a little bit of extra time to formulate your questions and really figure out what you need help with. That being said, I would also definitely go to office hours. I guess I should have mentioned that earlier, but office hours is also a highly recommended place outside of your class time where you can just ask questions and try and make sure you understand what exactly you're trying to learn for a specific course. So yeah, that is all my tips for remote learning in the fall of 2020. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. Do you guys have any other tips that you think are vital and important for students just starting out, as well as those of us who are continuing along with learning in a remote environment? That's all I have to say for this video. I will catch you guys in the next one.